KMM Radio. This is kmmu.org, and this is the Liberty Mom Show. Liberty Moms are the original secretaries of defense. We are the real defenders of the home front. I'm your host, Dalane England, and I have another wonderful Liberty Mom with me today, Jennifer Jensen. Jennifer is the president of Mount Vernon College. Mount College. Yes. No, Liberty College. I knew as soon as I was saying it, I'm getting it wrong. I got to write everything down. Mount Liberty College. And she's not just the president, she's also the founder, one of the founders. And it's a pretty amazing undertaking to start a college. So Jennifer, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you because education is a really important issue. And I think it's more important. People are realizing how important it is, especially right now. We have more than 50% of the Utah state budget goes to education, both K through 12 and higher ed. And it's a huge budget. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of people that work for the education system. And the more that we spend, something that is not a matter of opinion, a fact that we have noticed, the more we spend, the worse our education system is getting. I think we have really good teachers, a lot of them. I really do. I think parents are committed. They want their kids to get educated, but something is failing. And I definitely feel like our higher ed is really, well, it's all failing. So you decided to start a college. What in the world? How did you think you could do that? And how did you do it?
You know, I look back now and I have no idea, but we just, my youngest got out of high school and off on his own. And I started watching what was happening with my kids that were in college, and they were coming home with stories or, you know, telling me different things that had happened there and things that they were being taught. And I just was not impressed with it at all. And Gordon Jones, he's the other one that helped me start the school. We talked a lot. You know, we were just friends back then. And I said to him, I said, if we're going to start something, now's the time to do it because I don't have anything to do. My kids are all out of the house. So we decided to give it a try. The idea was we wanted to bring Hillsdale to Utah. You know, Hillsdale is such a great college and everybody loves it and wants their kids to go there, but it's so far away and so expensive.
It's prohibitive for, I'd say, 95% of the people.
Yes.
It's so expensive and it is amazing. And if you don't get a scholarship, it's going to be really hard to do. Yeah.
And to be saddled with over 100,000 in debt. I mean, it just was too much. Right. And so we decided to try, and we started to talk to people and got some backing from different groups and different people. And we just decided to go for it. And so we set up this liberal arts college, which classical liberal arts means the great books, original sources. It means looking, not reading textbooks, you know, it means looking at the original things that people said. So if we're going to study Plato, we're going to read Plato. We're not going to read textbooks about Plato.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's what we did. It's a lot like what Hillsdale does. At least for their first 2 years, they go into different degrees after that. But the idea is to do something similar because we just felt like there's so many great youth here in Utah. And like you said, they just can't afford to go to Hillsdale. It's too far away for most of them. And we just thought we should be able to bring something here similar.
That is amazing.
That's what we've done.
That is so great. Yeah. And it is an amazing college. I have been so impressed with the students that are at your school and that have come out of your school. It's been really very impressive. And I think it's amazing to start a college. Like that just seems, wow. It seems like you'd have to have a lot of money, a huge budget. It just seems overwhelming. It just seems, I know the Stanford, but Mr. and Mrs. Stanford did it. They went to visit a college and they're just like, they didn't like it. And they're just like, how much does it cost to start a college? And they told me, is that all? And it was like, I can't, millions, I'm like, oh, so they started Stanford University. So, because for kind of the same reason, I'm trusting it costs you less than $50 million.
Definitely less. We pretty much bootstrapped the whole thing. So we've had some donations from really great foundations like Sorensen Legacy Foundation and Leighton Construction. They have a My Brother's Keeper Foundation. We've gotten some donations like that, and from private individuals, we've gotten some great donations. That's the only way we can make it work. But we just felt like it didn't need to start out with big, huge buildings and,
Sure,
tons of expense. We felt like there had to be a better way. So I guess we kind of started it the old-fashioned way from the ground up. So,
and the point of education is not to get a job, it's to educate our citizens, educate our youth so they can be good citizens, create value, and provide self-sufficiency. That is the real. Then if they get that kind of education, they really can do many things. They can do anything that they really have a gift for and a desire to do. And I think that gets so lost in education. We start educating our kids in public ed to get a job, and the whole focus is on that, which is not a good idea because jobs come and go, and certain fields in jobs come and go as we progress. So we really want to create good citizens. So I do love that. That is really exciting. Yeah. And that is amazing because what it takes to get an education is a student who has a desire to learn and a mentor or an educator willing to educate. Those are really all that you need. You might need a few documents to study.
Well, and nowadays everything is online, so it makes it extra, especially, as far as classics go, you can find all kinds of classics and original sources online. Or if you want to buy them used on Amazon for $5, not $350 textbooks. So it's much cheaper that way for sure.
It is. That's so neat.
Yeah, we believe the same thing you did, that education is so much bigger than just a job. It's really about educating us for freedom. If we're not educated to understand what it is to be free, then and be willing to make our own decisions and be willing to understand what's happening in the world around us, then very quickly we'll find people who are willing to make those decisions for us, and we'll lose that freedom. And we can kind of see that in society today. And we feel like it's really important to bring that back and teach students how to think for themselves and how to make those decisions, how to research things, how to, just where to find truth and what truth looks like. And that's what we're really trying to do. And our students so far have not had a problem finding any jobs. So I know a lot of parents, that's a big worry, is that they'll get out of this classical liberal arts education and not have a job. But we have
not a chance.
No, we have students. We have one of our seniors this year has already been offered a job and never even applied for it. She's going to be working back in Washington, D.C. with a major organization for youth. So we're really excited about that. And that's the kind of thing that's happened with a lot of our students, is that things are just falling into their laps of, matching what they want to do, and they're able to find things that work and create their place in society. And it's really been fun to watch. It's really fun to watch.
That is wonderful. So how does your education differ from the education of other Utah colleges?
So kind of what we talked about a little bit, we're not job training. So we're not going to teach you how to be an accountant or an engineer. We try to give most education is very narrow. You stay within your little area. So, if you're a business, you stick with business classes past the first couple of years of general ed. But I think most people would tell you that general ed classes right now are just kind of a waste of time. Mm-hmm. That's why they keep trying to get rid of them. Thank heavens that Senator Johnson saw past that a little bit and is trying to make things better. But our whole education is about being as broad as possible. So rather than staying in that narrow focus, we're about being very broad and learning things from all different aspects of education, so that they're ready and prepared for all kinds of things. So we have economics classes, we have science and math classes, their philosophy of, so we read great classic works like Adam Smith and Newton's Principia. I mean, we read all kinds of things, Plato, Aristotle, but even newer works too. And it's all about getting this really broad education, because kind of like what you said before, jobs disappear. And especially with AI coming, we have no idea what's going to disappear. And to give yourself this narrow education, and then 10 years from now or 5 years from now or 2 years from now, watch your job disappear, that, what do you do? But with a broad education, you can then go into something else. You now have the resources to create your own place. Maybe you can find a need in society that isn't being met and fill that. And that comes from this broad education, where it shows you how to think differently than the regular person. And I think that we actually have a student who, she's in a whole bunch of debate, and she's actually still in high school. She's a senior, and she's taken a couple classes with us. And she said that our classes have made her think so differently and helped her think so differently that she wins a lot, that she's able to,
Yes.
win in these debates and think differently and come up with different arguments and different ideas. And it's a really great way to open your mind and understand all kinds of things. So that's the difference in our education, is it's very, very broad, and we try to cover all kinds of great and interesting things. And our kids are learning new things every class.
Yeah, like a real liberal arts education.
Yes.
Which is, and I really appreciated the shout out you gave to our state Senator Johnson, Senator John Johnson, because he just passed a bill that for Utah State will be the pilot's college or university, I should say, that will do is they're starting over and creating a new curriculum that is a liberal arts curriculum. And that, I just think that is such a game changer, because that is going to get back to what a real education is, and really help our students, because we've got to teach the truth, and we've got to teach people how to discover, how to think, and how to find that out for themselves. So it's very exciting. It's really awesome.
And that part of the idea of that liberal arts education is to learn from all sides of the issue. So so in economics, for instance, we don't just read Adam Smith, we also read Marx, and we also read Keynes, and we read all of these other people that have different opinions. And then the students in our classes, we teach Socratic method. It's not lecture based. So our students come to class having read these documents, and then they sit and they discuss, and what does this guy mean here? And what did this guy mean here? And where's the truth? Where does the truth lie in all of these different opinions? And what sounds more believable, and oh, here's a connection with somebody else. Maybe this other person can come help us find the truth. And it's kind of mind blowing. If you've never been in that situation, it's really great to just expand your mind and think of all these things and come up with all these great things that people have said, and be able to compare and contrast them, and try to find that truth that's somewhere on that continuum between all of those conversations. So it's a really fun thing. And we invite anyone who's interested, parents and students, potential students who'd like to maybe come, that they're welcome to come and try a class out. We'll give you the assignment that we read for that day, and then you're welcome to come and join the class and participate.
So even a parent can come and just check it out, come and sit in a class, do an assignment, come back and participate with the class.
Yeah, we are totally open. We want people to see how great it really is. And we actually have a master's program that's specifically designed for people who are on the slow route, that can only take one class a semester. Maybe they're working, they're moms, whatever, and they're just trying to come back and get that classical liberal arts education that they didn't get in their bachelor's degree. And so we're trying to help everyone get this kind of an education, because it's such a difference. It's such a game changer.
That is really awesome. So I love that you can kind of tailor it to your life and your lifestyle, what works for you so you can continue, because we should be ever learning. So,
Yes.
I mean, are you guys accredited? Because I know for some parents that's a huge deal. Some of us couldn't care less, but some do. So are you accredited?
Yeah. So the accreditation companies
Mhm.
have a lot of the same problems of the Department of Ed. So they have to be accredited through the Department of Ed, and then all the money that comes from the government is tied to accreditation. And so there's a lot of
Right.
power and consequently a lot of corruption that's involved with that. And so we feel and in fact, I think Trump has picked up on that and wants to change it as well. He also has seen the problems that
Yes.
are part of accreditation. And so he's decided he wants to change the whole system. And we have always felt like it doesn't work. And so we didn't want to participate in accreditation because of that. And so we're hoping maybe down the road Trump will change things, but right now it's not worth doing. It just isn't. It doesn't do anything. It's why every college looks the same as every other college. And they all have the same problems, is because they're all accredited by these same groups and threatened with not getting their government funding if they don't, toe the line. We're actually working on kind of an alternative accreditation where we'll have a third party come in and look at Mount Liberty and our records and our curriculum and everything the same way that the accreditation department would, but it's a third party that doesn't have anything to do with the government or, no strings, but it would be able to prove that we're doing the same things that that would potentially get us that accreditation, obviously without the bad stuff. But it would be third party. There's no strings attached and there wouldn't be any problems associated with it. So that's what we're working on. We're hoping we've been working on it for a few years now, and we're hoping to do it sometime this summer is the goal.
Wow.
Yeah. So that should
super.
hopefully help parents see that we're legitimate, that we're actually educating our students and we're actually doing what we say we're doing. And that's another reason why we're willing to let people come in and try a class, because we want them to see that it's real. What we're doing is real and serious.
People do get really uptight about the accreditation because they think you can't move on, you can't get a job, that it will hold you back. But the reality is, like, who's ever been asked for their high school diploma when they go get a job before they graduate? And then when you graduate from college, they're really more interested in what you can do and what you know and how you can think and what you can accomplish than they are if it's an accredited college versus. I wonder even how often they even look at that. But I know from going through homeschooling two of my children for a time and that dealing with the public schools, they're very socially engineered. I mean, they are taught, trained, and educated that accreditation is everything. So I know sometimes parents get really worried about that. And I think you did an excellent job explaining why it's actually a detriment to your education.
Yeah, we really think it is. And we really feel like if we got it, we would look like every other college. And we don't want to
jump
look
through
like
their hoops.
Yes, we want to stay being Mount Liberty College. That's this classical liberal arts education. And we feel like it is worth doing things a little differently. It's kind of like what you said, homeschooling. I mean, people are willing to pull their kids out of public schools because they see the problem, and they're too quick to jump them right back into a regular college at 18. And 18 is still so young and so easily indoctrinated. And we just believe that students need more of that great education all the way through. And another thing that maybe we didn't touch on too is grad programs. Most grad programs also don't care as long as you pass the test. So we actually specifically have talked to different law schools, and they don't care as long as you do a great job on the LSAT. They're not going to care where you came from. And we have students in different master's programs right now. They haven't cared. One had to jump through a couple of hoops. She had to take a couple of classes that were in her program before she was actually accepted as a student to see if she could do the work. And when she had no problem, got her straight A's, they accepted her without any problem at all. So
Wonderful.
we really haven't seen any problem with that. Our students, so Hillsdale is a little bit similar. They are also not accredited for teaching public schools. That
Right.
takes a special accreditation. And we don't have that either. But our students would be totally fine teaching in a private school or a charter school if they can get an accreditation through that. So I know different charter schools, it depends on the charter school. So even becoming a teacher is a possibility.
That is really amazing. Yeah, I
things
didn't
are really
realize that.
opening up. Yeah. And I have actually a son who graduated from a different school before we were ever around. He graduated from a different school that was unaccredited, and he is now 35 and has had jobs all the way through and never had a problem. So as far as looking at your degree and saying, oh, that came from an unaccredited school, nobody cared.
Nobody notices, nobody cares. It's so irrelevant.
Yes.
Okay, so Jennifer, we talked a bit about some of the classes, but can you give us some more details about what kind of classes you offer?
Mm-hmm.
Give us some more of a variety of what those are.
Yeah, so I'll just start with a couple of our freshman class, because that's, most people are in those to begin with. We have our liberal arts core liberal arts class is called the Development of Civilization, and it's actually a 2-year program, and it covers history and literature and art and music and things all the way from the beginning of written history up until today. And it's not just Western, but it covers all the world. So you talk about, so if we go back to the beginning, the very first year, we're going to cover things like the Iliad and the Odyssey. We're also going to cover things like core creation myths from different places. So Japan, China, all kinds of different areas around the world. And that gives them this big overview of literature and history and why the literature was written the way it was in each time period, because they're going to now understand history better. It's a really great class. But it's a deeper, harder class for sure, because it's so involved. We have a philosophy class where they learn philosophy from the beginning of pre-Socratic times to today. So they go from the pre-Socratics through Plato, Aristotle, into Marcus Aurelius, and all the way up until you get to today in the postmodernism, and they can see the difference as they read these different things, and they can understand it. It kind of opens up to show them how postmodernism came to be. Why are we in this sort of postmodernist society, and people teaching these things, and they can see this progression through history. So that's really great. We have an American Foundations class where they don't just study the Constitution and the Declaration, but they actually read the writings, or some of the writings that the founders read themselves. So they read Montesquieu, they read Locke, Sidney, and they read some of the Bible. The Old Testament was a big thing where the founders got some of their principles from. And all of these they read, and then they move into what the founders have written. So they read the Fed papers and the anti-Fed papers, Washington's farewell address, and they move forward in time. And that way they're getting this overview of how the Constitution was made, why those principles were picked, because now they've read the same things the founders did. And it really shows why those documents turned out the way they did, and how they described them and expected them to work. We have a thinking and writing class and a thinking and speaking class, which are to give our kids a kind of a base knowledge of how to speak in public, how to get your ideas across to other people, and writing the same way. Because if you have some really great ideas, unless you can write or unless you can speak, your ideas stay in you and you never get to share them with anybody. So we feel like that's really important. So we talk about things like that. We also have a science or science fiction class where we talk about the scientific method and how it all works, and how you have to look at least two sides of an issue. And usually there's more than two sides to really be able to find the truth. And so they go through that in this class, and they read Francis Bacon, and all kinds of other people as they talk about this scientific method, and then they talk about it. They talk about it with things that are big today. What are some of the big questions that people have today? They talk about those in that class as well. So we try to bring all of these old documents and old ideas into practical use today with how do you apply it today? Because really truth should be the same for Plato as it is for us. If we can find truth, it should apply to everyone. And so whatever they were learning, if it was truth, we should be able to apply in our lives today. And we think that's a really important part. We have an economics class. It's political economy. So it's a kind of like a philosophy of economics where we read economists that from the beginning to today, and we see the change in the beliefs and the teachings and stuff coming through. And so they learn about our Keynesian economic system today and how it all works and why people believe that. We have a philosophy of math class. We have a scientific thought class where our math class is really great. They start with Euclid and they go through all of his proofs and learn those and understand them. And then they go into Apollonius and learn about conic sections and parabolas and hyperbolas. And then they read Galileo and they end up with Newton's Principia in that class. And it's just a great class, and it teaches they're learning all these math skills as they go through, trying to go through all of their proofs and understand what they were saying. But it's not like an algebra class or a calculus class. It's a little bit different because it's more that philosophy. It's all about the thinking and the learning to think. We also require language, and right now we teach Latin. We feel like that's a really great foundation for all kinds of education. But if you have
it should be required all through K through 12. It should be a required class too.
It's a great class. Yeah.
It's so important, and it just helps so much understand English and really every other language. But the Latin, it really is too. And some of the charter schools have started to require that, which I think is really good. But that so if they haven't got it, or even if they have, they can take Latin from you.
Yes. We have Latin, and if they wanted to do another language and felt really strongly, they can do that. It just wouldn't be able to be through us because we're not big enough yet. Down the road, we'll offer more.
Sure.
But anyway, that's just probably a little taste of the kind of classes we have. And some of those are on our website. People can go and look there at our different classes too, and if they have any questions. But
okay, so what kind of I think we have an overview, but what kind of student are you looking for? Someone who doesn't want to be in the traditional university kind of thing. I guess if they care a lot about sports, it might not work for them.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely don't have a sports team for sure. We're looking for the kind of student that really loves to learn and loves to talk and discuss, and it can be a lot of our students already have a foundation of some kind in the classics, but that's not necessarily part that has to be there. They can totally, if they've gone through, say, the system of public schools and have never had a chance to really read a book, but they really want to, it's all about the desire in the end, right? If you want this kind of education, if you want to have more than just job training, if you really want to expand your mind and understand the world around you better and understand people better, then this is the kind of education. And that's the kind of student we're looking for. We're not the kind of school that you go to for partying or for jumping through hoops just to get your degree. It's hard work, because we do expect you to come to class having read and prepared for the discussion. And since it's a discussion, it's really obvious who read and who didn't, and
as an educator, I will tell you, because I do a lot of discussion, because I think you'll learn a lot by having to articulate your views, regardless of what they are. You put them together. Like you say, you put them on paper, you articulate them. Then you have to actually think about them in a way that other people can understand them. And you can always tell someone who didn't read, because they can't. If you haven't done the reading, if you haven't done the research, If you haven't done the homework, you can't articulate. You really don't have a view.
Exactly.
So it's really, so you're looking for students who are seekers of truth, who want an education that is a real education, not looking just to get a job, but to really be self-sufficient, good citizens. Probably a lot of entrepreneurs. Do you feel like it's people that want to start their own business?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids who are in that entrepreneurial track that want to do their own thing. We actually have some mentors that are entrepreneurs themselves that love to work with these kids and help them and give them ideas and suggestions. And that's really great. Yeah, we have one student who she and her husband own a couple of businesses, and they're in the process of buying another one. And it's just really exciting to watch, really exciting to watch. And yeah, we want them to fulfill whatever they feel like their mission is. Whatever that mission is what we want to help them with. So it's the education seems the same for everybody, right? Everybody's reading the same books and having the same discussions, but in the process, because you are emphasizing something different, or because you're coming at it from a different angle, you actually learn different things, and it emphasizes different things to you. And so somebody who, I guess, wants to be an engineer couldn't get that engineer degree from us, so those kind of people, however, they could come take a class here or there. We have a student up at the U who is in a specialized program, and before he ever even heard about us, he was 2 or 3 years in, and so he couldn't really just stop and start over with us. So he just comes and every semester takes a class so that he can talk and discuss. And he said he had been to that school. How did he put it? He had been to that school for how many years and hadn't made any friends at all, really, because, it's kind of a commuter school. Like, you kind of make acquaintances, but no real friends.
Right.
And he said he came into our classroom and within 15 minutes had 15 friends, everybody in the room. And that's really true. Our classes are small. We know each other. All the teachers know all the students by name. We don't have TAs. Our students actually learn from us as professors. And, if they need if they have a question, if they need some help, we're right there for them. And they all seem to hang together and do stuff together too. So they really are just a big group of friends, and it's really fun to watch. It's like a big family almost.
That is really amazing.
Really have a fun time together.
Yeah, so they can really connect. But see, they're spending a lot of time talking to each other. They're spending a lot of time in the discussion and sharing ideas and thoughts and views. And they're also being taught to be respectful of people that don't agree with you, which is very novel for our society now. People are really, it's like, if they don't agree with you, you should go burn their car down or up. And so it's like, this is really teaching people, like, we can so disagree and still, like, learn from each other and find value and respect each other and respect our differences. So I think that's such a big part of education.
Yes. And that's different if you were just going to a regular college and listening to a professor lecture, you don't make those connections with each other, and you don't learn as much because it's all one-sided. Where this way we have to listen to each other, but we also expect them to listen to us. Right. And so we're talking to each other and we're bouncing off these ideas, and, maybe somebody comes in with a really weird idea, but then as we discuss it, everything kind of comes together and we start to see each other's point of view, and it can open each other's eyes to things. And so it's really, it's just a really fun experience. I mean, we've had adults come in and participate in classes before, and they leave going, wow, that was intense. And it's really fun.
Jennifer, are you okay to take some calls from people?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to open up the lines. That our call-in number is 385-899-2134. So if you'd like to call in and ask Jennifer any questions or talk about education, anything that you're concerned about, the number is 385-899-2134. Okay, so while we're, if somebody wants to call in, meanwhile, let's talk about, I know you have some youth seminars that you offer. So tell me about your youth seminars.
So we have 2 each year. One's in the spring, one's in May, and one's in September. And they usually focus on one book. This year it's Tale of Two Cities. It's basically to give high school kids 14 to 18 an understanding of what we do. So they read the book ahead of time. They're supposed to come having read the book. We also do fun stuff. We always do some kind of a simulation that goes along with the book. We've done like 1984 and Screw Tape Letters and The Hiding Place, those kind of books in the past. This year it's Tale of Two Cities. And they come and they do these fun activities. We play games. It's like an all day Saturday. So we play games, we do a simulation, and then we also do a book discussion where we break them up into groups of 10 or so, and they get to be with a real faculty member from Mount Liberty, and we discuss the book. So they get kind of a little taste of what being in a regular Mount Liberty class would be. And they get to meet some of our students come and our student mentors there. So they get to meet some of the students and they can ask them questions and find out, how they feel about the school and things. And it just is, the whole idea is to help students understand Mount Liberty a little bit better and see if they're the right fit, if they like this kind of thing, if they like the discussions, if they feel like it's right for them.
And it gives them that real exposure and hands-on, like not just walking through a classroom. So can someone go to your college before they graduate from high school? Can they take any classes before that?
Yeah, we allow students early enrollment, so that usually seniors, maybe some juniors, they can come and they can take a class, and usually just one or two at a time, just to make sure they're ready. What we try to do is warn parents not to be the ones that are pushing their kids. We want to make sure that the kids want it, because if the parents are pushing the kids to do it, then the kids end up not really liking it. And so we want to make sure that if you have a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, make sure it's your child that wants to come and participate, and it's not just you.
Absolutely. Love it. Okay, we do have a call. Her name is Ella. Ella, welcome to KMMU. Do you have a question or comment that you would like to make?
Yes, I'm happy to make it. So I'm actually a Mount Liberty College student, so I figured I'd join the call and kind of run the discussion about Mount Liberty.
Oh, I'm so glad that you called in, because I was hoping we could talk to an actual student. So that's wonderful. What would you like to share with us, Ella?
Well, I've been listening in a little bit to the discussion. It's been awesome. I just love Mount Liberty. That's the main thing I want to share. I really like it. So I'm a senior this year, so I've been through almost 4 whole years of it. And part of what we're doing, Dr. Jensen talked a little bit about other forms of like verifying whether the education is good besides accreditation. So part of what we've implemented this semester is a toolkit, which is where we kind of compile a lot of our notes into like principle statements or like things that we can use in the future. And I want to go to journalism. And so it's really helpful for me because journalism has a lot to do with like literature and politics and all of that stuff. So anyway, as I've been compiling this toolkit, it's been so cool to look back on my last 4 years and kind of compile my notes and kind of parcel through everything we've learned. It's just been awesome. So I love Mount Liberty. It's great.
Oh, it is so fun to hear the enthusiasm and the energy in your voice. Like that is really gratifying. That is so exciting, because I can tell you got a real education. You love it. You found value in it. And I just want to share with you real quickly. I went to this event. It was at the Capitol, the Utah State Capitol, and it was to honor the victims of Chairman Mao. And we had a lot of media was there, and one of the reporters came up and wanted to interview me. I said, sure. So he said, so what are you guys doing here? And I said, well, we're honoring the people who were, victims that were murdered and tortured by Chairman Mao. And he had no idea who Chairman Mao Zedong. He had no idea. And so I thought, and see, he graduated from college. This is a college graduate. So do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's disheartening from a journalist to not know who Chairman Mao.
Yeah, so when you said that, I thought, oh, that's what we need. See, we need some journalists that know something, that have a foundation, so they can really interview people and write things and have that strong foundation. So everything's in context. So it's really exciting. I feel like we need some real journalists.
Part of what we part of the Mount Liberty education is we do 2 practica, which is essentially like kind of more of the job training part of Mount Liberty, but it's just like 2 internships or 2 things that you'll do that kind of get you more into the career world versus the actual education. And so last summer I did an internship with the National Journalism Center, and that's exactly what I learned. It's exactly what you're saying. A lot of people know how to write a sentence, and they know how to diagram a sentence, or they know the terms for journalism, but a lot of them they really struggled with creating like a compelling piece, or even caring about the things they were writing about, or tying in a lot of other things that they knew, because they were just a little bit empty. Like all they knew was the structure of journalism. They didn't actually have a foundation to write about. So yeah, I learned exactly that. It was awesome.
That is so wonderful. So do you know what your plans are when you graduate? Do you have plans? You know what you're going to do?
Yeah, so that internship I did, they reached out to me and hired me on. So I think you were mentioning it a little bit earlier, Dr. Jensen.
I kind of thought you might be the one going to DC.
And go work in DC.
Yeah, see, I love that. They met you, they saw you, they're just like, we don't need a resume. We want to hire her. Like, we already know. We don't need you to put on paper. We can see what we get here. That's really impressive, Ella. That speaks so well of you and of Mount Liberty College, of course, and speaks very well of your accomplishments and what you've done. That's really awesome.
Thanks so much.
She's an awesome student. We love her. We're going to miss her a lot, but she's done a great job.
So if you can do that with Dr. Jensen listening, do you feel like sharing what your favorite class was, or one of your favorite classes?
Yeah, for sure. That is such a hard question as I've looked back at my notes to figure out. The core class, Development of Civilization, definitely, it is exactly what it sounds, what we say it is, a core class. So that definitely gave me the foundation I needed to kind of branch out into other parts of the liberal arts. And so I love that class. But as I look back, probably one of my favorites is, we call it a conflict of visions, or like a moral reasoning class, where we read Thomas Sowell's book called The Conflict of Visions. And that class really impacted me just because it talks about how there are 2 opposing visions in the world, this constrained vision and this unconstrained vision. And it was so refreshing to hear Thomas Sowell talk about it instead of like liberal conservative and like all this polarization. He approached it in a way where people actually view human nature differently. And that was so compelling to me. And I also am obsessed with Hunger Games. And she just wrote a new novel, Suzanne Collins did. And she actually focuses on kind of similar concepts like human nature and are men good, are men evil, and what do we have a tendency to do? And it was so cool to learn about, especially when you tie it in with the Constitution and how the founders knew men were really susceptible to power. And like as soon as they get a little power, they're going to abuse that power. And so that's how they wrote the Constitution in such a way where we have these checks and balances and these ways to prevent this corruption in power. So that was probably one of my favorite classes, is the Conflict of Visions classes.
Love it. That is fabulous. And I'm just such a fan of Thomas Sowell. I can just imagine. He is so brilliant, and he really is such a thinker. He managed to get educated in a true education. So that is really wonderful, Ella. I think you are a really good commercial for Mount Liberty College. Like you just really shine.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Thank you. Well, I'm very excited for you. I'm thrilled for you that you got such a great education. I'm excited to see, what you do with it and how you go out and really literally make a difference and change the world for the better. So everyone changes it. I am very confident you are going to change the world for the better.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for calling in.
It's been great to chat.
Thank you. Wow, Dr. Jensen. Yeah, she really does speak very well. You can really tell what a great education she got. So
Yes.
exciting. Like how many people are graduating from college are so excited about their education, not excited to graduate. They're excited about what they've learned and what they know and what they, can take with it. That really
It's
is fun.
true. It's true. She got that internship. I mean, thousands of kids try out for that internship that she's talking about last summer.
Mhm.
And she afterwards, the few kids that were there, she asked him, why did you pick us? And he said, oh, you were a shoo-in. You actually mentioned Erasmus in your application. And so we knew right away you were a thinker. And that's so great. Like how many people know who Erasmus is or can talk about Erasmus, and
Exactly. Yeah. So they're like, oh, there's a foundation here that we can actually have a conversation with.
Yes. And it really made a huge difference. And she could see it too, and they could see it. And I think that's true of all of our students. You can really see the difference and hear it when you talk to them. That's just the way they are. And we stop, our class ends after 3 hours. We have 3-hour blocks of classes versus 1 hour 3 times a week. And so we're talking, we really get deep into these 3 hours. And after we leave, us as professors, we leave and they keep talking and they'll have these big discussions still after we're all gone. And it's just great. It's such a fun, it makes my day every time I go to class. It really is a fun thing. They're the best kids.
That is so exciting. Yeah, I love that. And okay, our producer he's going to put the Mount Liberty website kind of as a screenshot so everybody can see it. Because I was just going to ask you, like, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they go? So while he's doing that, I wanted to say something and I've lost my train of thought, but what were we talking about when they're in there talking and you're talking with each other? They still keep talking, but anyway, well, here's the Mount Liberty
our
College
website. Yep, the website is Mount Liberty College, all spelled out, so MOUNT, mountlibertycollege.org.
Okay.
So it's really easy to find, and it has a whole bunch of information on there. At the bottom of this front page, you can find out about the youth seminars. There's some little buttons at the bottom, and one of them is 2025 youth seminars. You can find out about our classes and our curriculum up at the top. So we kind of have these things at the bottom that you're seeing now. And then we have the little buttons at the top that tell more about the actual school. So academics, admissions, that's this where you apply is all right there. It's all online. And there's a place, if you have questions, there's a place to ask questions and, all kinds of stuff. So we have an email on there that, if you have a question about it, you can email in and we'll answer. And we try to answer everything within a few days, so it shouldn't take very long. But yeah, we're so excited to be here. And every time we get these kids graduating and they're just so amazing, it just makes what we're doing so important and just wonderful. I don't come home from class exhausted, wishing I was doing something different. I come home from class just so excited and so upbeat and so thrilled that I know these amazing students. They really are just amazing.
Yeah, it just gives you energy. It just invigorates you because they've got this great energy, and whether they have love of learning and they want to learn the truth, they're seekers of truth. That is really very exciting. It's hard to get better than that.
Yes. And they see, I know we'll have students tell us things like, they have friends going to regular colleges and they're just kind of living through the classes. You know what I mean? They go to the lectures, do the things, and our kids don't feel like that. Our students are like, I'm learning something new every single day. This is so exciting. And then they hear about people, you'll hear about somebody like, I don't know, like Francis Bacon or Marcus Aurelius or whoever. And they'll be like, I've read that person, or Thomas Sowell. I've read him. And it's so cool to be able to say that, and have this connection. Like, I know who that is, or, Maimonides or Augustine or any of those kind of people. It's really fun. And they make it what it is. They really do.
They really do. So I take it your son graduated from Mount Liberty College.
No, all of my kids went other places because it was before we came.
Before you,
Like,
so
we
he
were
didn't even get to go to your college.
no, none
Really?
of us.
Wow, that's painful, isn't it?
It is painful. It is painful. Yep. I'm hoping down the road, my grandkids maybe, but
Yes. I was
yeah,
just going to say, well, now their kids have a place to go, so your grandkids have a place
that's
to.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
excellent.
just didn't start it in time. I mean, I started working on it after he graduated,
Right.
but it was,
Wasn't
yeah,
right.
it just didn't work out. And it took us a year or so to get going and,
Oh, absolutely.
that kind of thing.
And he'd already graduated when you started. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
ready to get into college. So, are the class sizes around 15 students per class?
Yeah, they're 10 to 15 right now. The biggest we would ever go is 20. So we'll never have a class bigger than 20. We feel like there's no way to have a real discussion if you have more than 20 kids. It's too easy to hide and not be part of the discussion. And we want everyone to participate. So we try to keep the classes really small. We sit around a big round table and we talk and everybody participates. We also have a Zoom capability. So if you live outside of the area, it's like we have some students. We have a student in Texas. We have a student in, well, she's just left on her mission, but she lives in Virginia, and and we have some up in Idaho. We've had some in Cache Valley. They can
That's
Zoom in.
wonderful.
Yeah, they can Zoom in and be part of our class. So our online courses, we don't have the typical online that do everything yourself. If you're an online student, if class starts at 9, you Zoom in at 9 and we have a big screen and the students in the class can see you and you can see them and you participate along with everybody else. So you're part of that same class, you're just on the screen. It's not quite as good, but if you live far away, it's the next best thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's
never be the same, but it is so much better than a phone call. It is nice to be able to, you can still see each other, hear each other, and be part of the conversation.
And so much better than the typical online where you're just doing everything on your own because you miss out on the discussions, and the discussions are such a huge part. And so we feel like that's a really important part. And so we do these, kind of a hybrid class with kids on Zoom and kids in the classroom. So.
Okay. Now, Dr. Jensen, I heard that you guys are getting ready to move.
We are.
Is that right?
Yes, we are. Right now we're in Murray and we will be moving. So we're finishing out the school year. Our school year ends in less than a month now. Our graduation is April 24th. And then we'll be moving to Provo. We're getting ready to find a building. Well, we think we found a building, but we're getting ready to sign and do all the stuff, all the work that has to go with it.
Yeah, that's huge.
Over the summer. So by August, when we start next year, we'll be in Provo. And that way our kids can have this full college experience. I know we've had some parents contact us and say, our kids, we want them to have the full college experience, not just good classes, but, living with roommates and singles boards and activities and, dating and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. And so
dances and
we just decided that maybe Provo was the right place for that, since there's at least 3 big colleges. By the time you get UVU and BYU and the new medical school, then you also have all these little colleges that are there too.
Right.
And so there couldn't be more of a college experience than Provo. So
it is. It's amazing. Just being there does give you a really great college experience because you can be involved in the sports if you want to go to games or you want to.
Yes.
You want to kind of participate in that, or you want to go to the dances, or like you say, the dating, and there's just so many people, and you can meet more people. So it does, and roommates. I do think that getting out on your own and living in an apartment with other people is a huge part of education. You learn a lot about yourself as well as others, and it is a really important part of life.
Yes.
And really. It's just I just think no one should get married until they've lived on their own or lived out on their own.
It does actually help a lot. You understand people a lot better once you've had to live with people other than your family.
You live with people you don't really particularly know beforehand or that you like, then it makes it a lot easier to live with somebody that you are in love with. It does make it, you're like, now I can live with somebody. And you're even people that you're really in love with, there are things about living together where you just need to learn. Everybody
That's
does.
right. That's
So,
right. And understand how you work things out, and you have different personalities all in the same place and you have to work things out. Who's doing the dishes tonight and who's cleaning the bathroom and, all that kind of fun stuff.
exactly.
And
Yep.
that always gives you stories to tell for the rest of your life.
Yes. Who drank my milk and who drank this and who ate this.
Yep.
I came home in the middle at 12 and they were eating my food, and just fun
Yep.
stories, like you say. It's all part of the college experience, the college life, which is also an important part of education. So
yep. And so we decided to move down there for that. And I think that would probably be the only reason we would choose to move. But that's what that came up, and we felt like that was worth really considering. So we're moving to Provo, and we'll be doing that this summer, and we'll be there by the fall. And hopefully we'll have a place. We'll probably send it out in our emails and stuff in the next few weeks.
Well, I'm excited to come down and see your new place, because I haven't ever been to your one in Murray, but I'm absolutely going to come and see it in Provo. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, Dr. Jensen. We really appreciate it. It's been very informative and very enlightening. So thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a beautiful one. And everyone, please remember that you are the guardian of your liberty. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.